You ever meet someone so smug, so high on their own imaginary throne, you swear they were auditioning for a reality show titled HOA Dictators, Suburbia's Worst? Yeah, that's Karen. If you've ever fantasized about drop-kicking an HOA rulebook into a volcano, go ahead and smash that like button. And drop a comment if your HOA has ever pulled a stunt so absurd it made you question reality. Because I've got one for the books. So let's rewind a bit. I moved into this pleasant enough suburban neighborhood 2 years ago. White fences, weekly potlucks, the occasional dog poop drama. You know, normal stuff. I bought a corner unit with a 2-car garage, which felt like a luxury after years of parallel parking in front of hipster coffee shops downtown. Enter Karen. Not a metaphorical Karen. A real, name on the HOA letterhead Karen. Short blonde bob? Check. Neon windbreaker despite zero athletic activity? Check. Clipboard surgically attached to her hand? Triple check. She had the look of someone who thrived on enforcing leaf blower schedules and publicly shaming people for weeds. Her front yard was more surveillance system than garden. First time we met, she didn't even say hi. She pointed at my trash bin. It's 4 inches over regulation placement. Oh, we were going to be friends, I could just tell. But whatever, I could play nice. Smile, nod, pretend she wasn't policing my existence. Until one day, I did the unthinkable. I parked my own car inside my own garage. I know. What kind of anarchist behavior is that? To clarify, the car in question is a 1969 Mustang Fastback. Cherry red. Restored with love, sweat, and a few swear words. It's not a daily driver, it's a weekend baby. And I park it in my garage to protect it. Because, you know, that's what garages are for. Apparently, Karen missed that memo. It started with a letter. We've received multiple complaints about an unregistered, unsightly vehicle stored on the property. HOA regulations state all visible vehicles must be licensed, operable, and in daily use. Yeah, she tried to HOA my garage. I laughed, tossed the letter, thought it was a joke. Because how would anyone even see the car? My garage door stays closed unless I'm coming or going. Turns out, Karen's favorite pastime is taking walks with her camera. And by camera, I mean full-on paparazzi lens poking through people's bushes. Next week, another letter. Your non-compliance will result in further action. Still laughed. Still ignored it. Mistake number 1. Assuming Karen plays by any version of normal reality. One Tuesday morning, I leave for work in my daily driver, my practical little Civic. Normal day, nothing weird. I come home at 6 p.m., pull into the driveway, and stop dead. Garage door? Open. Mustang? Gone. At first, I thought I'd been robbed. I literally sprinted into the house to check security footage. That's when the truth hit me like a brick through a sunroof. Karen had my car towed. Let me say that again for the people in the back. She broke into my garage, called a towing company, and had my Mustang taken away like it was a rusted-out shopping cart abandoned on the sidewalk. And the best part? She left a note, taped to the wall where the Mustang used to be. Per HOA regulations, this vehicle was deemed non-compliant and has been removed. You may contact Sunrise Towing for details. Karen, HOA president. No signature. Just Karen. Like she's Beyonce. At that moment, I didn't know whether to scream, laugh, or file a police report. So I did all 3. But don't worry. That's where things really start getting good. So where were we? Right. Me staring into the gaping maw of my now empty garage, holding a passive-aggressive sticky note signed by Queen Karen of the HOA. Let me just say, I've experienced rage before. DMV lines. Printer jams. That one roommate who kept labeling my milk. But this was a new genre of fury. First stop, Sunrise Towing. I called, asked about the red Mustang. Their response, oh yeah, the HOA lady said it was abandoned. Abandoned. My restored classic. That I had receipts for. In a locked garage. I asked for their paperwork. They emailed me a form signed. No joke, K. Winters, HOA authority. Not only did she fake an authority she didn't legally have, but she also signed a document authorizing a towing company to remove private property from inside a locked garage. That's not a code violation. That's breaking and entering. Time to escalate. I called the cops. Officer Ramirez showed up within the hour, probably expecting a minor neighborhood tiff. Instead, I handed him the printed towing document, the footage from my security camera showing Karen walking up to my garage, using what looked suspiciously like a universal remote opener, and smirking while the tow truck did its thing. His face shifted from mildly annoyed to, "Oh boy, paperwork incoming. You're telling me she accessed your private garage without consent?" he asked. "Yes, with what I assume is a cloned remote. And you didn't authorize any vehicle removal? Does it look like I authorized a Mustang kidnapping?" He radioed it in. The words potential B and E and civil liability flew around. I smiled. For the first time that day, I felt the warm hug of karma preparing to slap someone into next Tuesday. But I wasn't done. See, Karen's whole power base was built on one thing, the HOA bylaws. She quoted them like scripture. She waved them like a scepter. So I went digging, dug up the HOA handbook she wrote, found the clause about unauthorized vehicle storage, and highlighted the one little caveat. Applies only to driveways and visible public areas. Garages are exempt unless part of a formal inspection process and with homeowner permission. Boom. There it was. Her golden rule, cracked right down the middle. But I didn't stop there. Oh no. I called my cousin Marcy, paralegal, pit bull and lipstick, thrives on lawsuits like their brunch. Within 24 hours, I had a lawyer. Within 48, a cease and desist order delivered directly to Karen's door during her morning HOA patrol. Naturally, she tried to act like she didn't see it. Too bad the mailman handed it to her directly. I wish I had a photo of her face. It was the expression of someone who just stepped in dog poop and realized it was her own dog. Now, if you think Karen folded quietly, bless your optimism. Nope. She doubled down. Next HOA meeting, she called me out by name. "We have a resident here who is challenging the integrity of this community. Girl, you broke into my garage. You towed a car you didn't own. The integrity is you." I raised my hand. Calmly. "Karen, how exactly did you open my garage? Do you often carry universal openers? Or was that a special mission?" Silence. A few neighbors shifted uncomfortably. One coughed. One giggled. Karen adjusted her windbreaker like it was body armor. "We are allowed visual inspections if complaints are filed. In shared spaces. My garage isn't shared. It's mine. Unless you're renting space in there. In which case, I'd like first month's rent." More laughter. Her eye twitched. The downfall had begun. And I had barely even started the real fun. Next step? A lawsuit. Police charges. And a little event I like to call public humiliation with light refreshments. You know that feeling when you step on a rake in the yard and it smacks you in the face? Karen was about to feel that. Repeatedly. Because guess what happens when you break into someone's garage and tow their vehicle under a fake authority? You don't just get a stern talking to. You get charges. Criminal trespass. Unlawful entry. Fraudulent authorization of property removal. I'm no lawyer, but luckily my lawyer was. And she came armed. Let's call her Dana. Think Elle Woods. If Elle Woods also bench-pressed law books and ate HOA board members for breakfast. Our first court appearance wasn't even a full trial, just a preliminary hearing. Karen showed up in what I can only describe as aggressively innocent attire. Pastel blouse, pearl necklace, the whole Stepford starter pack. She sat next to her attorney, who looked like he was regretting every career choice that led him to represent her. The judge read the charges and raised an eyebrow like, "I cleared my docket for this." Dana stood up and presented our evidence, security footage, the forged towing order, a copy of the HOA bylaws with the garage exemption highlighted like it was a Bible verse. Karen's lawyer tried to spin it. My client was acting in good faith, per community standards. Was she authorized to enter the garage? She believed. Was she legally authorized? Judge, counsel, please answer directly. Karen's lawyer, no. Boom. That sound. Karen's case tripping on its own shoelaces. But it got better. See, Dana had done some extra homework. Turns out, Karen had done this before. Dug up 2 other incidents from her previous neighborhood where she'd removed unsightly vehicles, one of which turned out to be someone's project motorcycle that she dumped in a recycling center. Pattern of behavior? Oh yes. By this point, the courtroom was halfway between a legal proceeding and a dark comedy. Even the judge cracked a smirk when Dana played the security footage. Karen's defense? She actually stood up and said, "I was only trying to protect the visual standards of the neighborhood. Honey, it's a garage, not a gallery." The judge tilted his head. "Ms. Winters, do you have legal training?" "I'm the HOA president." That wasn't the question. Silence. "Did you consult the HOA bylaws before initiating this action?" I know the rules." "Clearly not well enough." "Oh, it was delicious. I could have seasoned popcorn with the tension in that room." The judge didn't rule that day, but he did grant my temporary restraining order. Karen was officially banned from stepping foot on my property. She couldn't even email me without it going through my attorney. And she was pissed. You'd think that would slow her down. Nope. 2 days later, I get a letter in the mail, no return address, saying, "Your attitude is toxic to this neighborhood. If you don't like the rules, you should leave." Printed. Anonymous. Cowardly. Obvious. I forwarded it to Dana. She sent it to the judge. Pattern of harassment? Noted. Meanwhile, the neighbors started noticing. The ones who used to nod politely at Karen now avoided eye contact like she was a pyramid scheme in yoga pants. One even knocked on my door and whispered, "Between you and me, thank you." She fined me $75 once for planting the wrong shade of lavender. I knew I wasn't alone anymore, but I wasn't done with Karen yet. Because next up, a public HOA meeting. And I had plans. The HOA community meeting. Usually about as exciting as watching grass grow, or in Karen's case, policing how grass grows. But this meeting? This one had buzz. People brought popcorn. Someone showed up with a folding chair like it was a WWE event. Word had gotten out. Queen Karen was finally getting called out publicly. I walked in with Dana at my side and a flash drive in my pocket. Contained on said flash drive? A slideshow presentation titled, "How to Ruin a Neighborhood One Power Trip at a Time," a case study by Karen Winters. Petty? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. Karen was already at the front, shuffling her notes and trying to maintain her usual iron-fisted, Botoxed composure. Her loyal minions were fewer now, mostly replaced by wary neighbors who'd realized, hey, maybe I don't like getting fined for my kids' sidewalk chalk art. The meeting began. Boring updates. Budget talks. Yawn. And then came public comments. I stood. Hi to all. I'm resident of 427 Maplewood Lane. I'd like to discuss a recent incident involving unauthorized entry, property removal, and what I like to call weaponized clipboard behavior. Karen flinched. I have visual evidence, courtesy of my home security, that Ms. Winters entered my garage without consent and had my vehicle towed under false pretenses. I've filed legal action and have an active restraining order against her. The room? Silent. I'd also like to present Exhibit A. Karen's history of harassing residents under misinterpreted HOA regulations. I plugged in the flash drive. The projector clicked to life. Up came a photo of Karen mid-glare, mid-clipboard, with a subtitle that read, HOA, Harassment Overdrive Authority. Cue the first snort of laughter from the back. Slide 2. A screenshot of the letter she taped inside my garage. Dramatically zoomed in on her signature, Karen, HOA President, with a big red not legally binding stamp across it. Slide 3. Quotes from other residents, anonymously submitted. Gems like, she fined me $25 for leaving my bike on the porch for 6 minutes. She told me my mailbox color was emotionally disruptive. She left a note saying my lawn gnome violated community vibes. Each quote landed like a punchline. More laughter. More whispers. Karen looked like she was trying to disappear into her own shoulder pads. Then came the finale. Slide 4. A breakdown of HOA bylaw section 8.4, the one she so conveniently ignored. Highlighted. Annotated. With a side-by-side of her forged towing document and the actual rule stating garages were exempt. I turned to the crowd. Now, I understand HOAs have a role. But this wasn't about community. This was about control. Applause. Actual, human, clapping. Karen tried to speak. This is a mischaracterization. No, Karen. A mischaracterization is calling yourself president, when you've got fewer fans than a broken ceiling unit. And then, the cherry on top. From the back of the room, Mr. Haversmith, 78 years old, cardigan, retired Navy, stood up. Karen fined me for having a flagpole that was half an inch too tall. I hope she gets sued so hard her grandkids feel it. Laughter. Applause. Someone actually yelled, "Oop." By the end of the meeting, a motion was on the table. Vote of no confidence in Karen's HOA presidency. We needed a simple majority. We got a supermajority. Like, Karen could have voted for herself and it still wouldn't have mattered level. She sat frozen, blinking like she just got hit with a pie made of reality and regret. And just like that, Karen was dethroned. But don't worry, her final humiliation? Still coming. Because while that Mustang was safely back in my garage, her court date was right around the corner. And I had one more move to play. Karen didn't show up to court in her usual HOA windbreaker. No, this time she went full courtroom cosplay, stiff beige blazer, tragic pearls, the kind of expression that screamed, "I watched Law and Order and I'm ready to lie." But Dana and I, we brought receipts, figuratively and literally. The courtroom was smaller than expected, which made it all the better when the judge read aloud every charge: criminal trespass, unauthorized property removal, falsifying documents, and civil damages from towing a vehicle she didn't own out of a place she didn't belong. Dana stood like she was presenting at a TED Talk titled, "Why You Don't Let Unhinged Suburban Dictators Run Free." Security footage? Played. HOA bylaws. Printed, bound, tabbed like a college thesis. Statements from neighbors? Read aloud. My personal favorite was the one that said, "Karen once told my wife her roses were too aggressive." But the real gut punch came from the towing company rep. Yes, she signed the form. Told us she had the legal authority. We didn't know she wasn't on the title or deed. Had we known, we never would have accepted the call. Boom. Judge turned to Karen. "Ms. Winters, do you have any legal authority to remove vehicles from private property not owned by the HOA?" Karen tried. Oh, she tried. "I was acting in the best interest of the community. It's my duty." "No, Ms. Winters," the judge interrupted. "Your duty is not to violate state law under the guise of community standards." I could see it in her face, the slow realization that her reign of petty terror had reached its expiration date. Verdict? Guilty on civil trespass and unlawful removal of private property. She owed me full towing fees, damages for unauthorized access, legal fees, and a cherry on top, $5,000 in punitive damages for egregious misuse of perceived authority. But that's not even the best part. The judge also referred the case for criminal review, citing serious concerns about repeated behavior. Translation? Karen might be heading for mugshot territory. Oh, and that restraining order? Extended. Karen couldn't come within 100 feet of my property. She had to formally resign from the HOA. And as a final twist of fate, she was banned from serving on any HOA board in the state for 5 years. Poetic. But the real dessert came 3 weeks later. I hosted a backyard barbecue. Mustang parked proudly in the driveway. Neighbors came out in droves. Burgers, beers, laughter echoing down the block. Someone brought a cake that said, "Ding dong, Karen's gone." At one point, I caught sight of her across the street, standing behind her curtains like a rejected Scooby-Doo villain. I raised my glass. "Don't worry, Karen, I'll send you a postcard from the garage you broke into." And that, folks, is how HOA tyranny met its match, in sarcasm, law, and one cherry red Mustang. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.